We've been shredding demons and the forces of hell to bits in Doom games for nearly 3 decades, and it's never gotten boring. That's partly because action as visceral, brutal, and impactful as Doom can't ever be anything but thrilling. But a huge reason for the enduring quality of that action is the enemies themselves. Over the years, the Doom series has never failed to throw excellently designed enemies at us, both from a visual and mechanical standpoint. It's looking like that'll be truer for Doom Eternal than it's been for any other Doom game. And so, excited as we are, here we're going to talk about some of our favorite demons that we've brutally murdered in Doom titles over the years. So, without further ado, let's get started. Cyber Demon. One of the deadliest demons in the entire series, the Cyber Demon has been tormenting players since the very first Doom, and appeared repeatedly over the course of the mainline series. With a behemoth's body that can take a startling amount of punishment before going down, the Cyber Demon inspires fear in the hearts of people not only with its appearance, but also with its combat capabilities. Revenant. After making its first appearance in Doom 2, the Revenant has gone on to become a staple of the franchise, and an enemy that players have come up against time and time again. Revenants were already capable enough to hold their own in Doom 2 and 3 thanks to their dual-mounted missile launchers, but Doom 2016 also gave them jetpacks, giving mobility and range to a demon that was already a threatening one. Kakko Demon. The round shape and slow movement speeds of Kakko Demons might fool some of you into thinking that these are the grunts of the forces of hell, the least threatening enemies they can throw at you, but that's far from the truth. From a distance, Kakko Demons can pulverize you with deadly projectile attacks, while an iconic visual design that has endured throughout the ages also makes them instantly recognizable. Cubas. One look at the Cubas is enough to tell you that this is not a demon to be trifled with. Armed, armored, hulking, and terrifying in all regards, the Cubas is one of Doom's best creations to date. Getting up close to it is a bad idea, because its massive stomps can immediately knock you back, and ignoring it is a sure-shot way of getting a game over screen, because it literally has cannons for arms. The Cubas can also take large amounts of damage before going down, making sure that it demands your attention in every way until it draws its last breath. Cyberman Kubis. The Cyberman Kubis, as its name suggests, is an even more threatening version of the regular Kubis, which means it's exactly the kind of nightmare you'd expect the forces of hell to throw at you. Boasting of all of the capabilities of its non-cybernetically enhanced cousins, from its dual cannons to its large pools of health, the Cyberman Kubis is even more of a tank thanks to its armor. Meanwhile, its toxic bile weapon ensures that it's more of a threat not just from a defensive perspective, but also from an offensive one. Spider Mastermind. Talk about ingenious visual design. The Spider Mastermind, or Spider Demon as it's often called, is all the right kinds of disgusting and horrifying. But it's not just its looks that make it so formidable. The Spider Mastermind is agile and quick, has a lot of range of movement, and can deal a number of deadly attacks, from plasma projectiles and electrifying the floor to spike bombs and sweeping lasers. Imp. The Imp is far from the most dangerous demon you'll come across, and as the foot soldiers of Hell's forces, you'll be fighting these monsters quite a bit. But just because they're not tanks with oodles of health doesn't mean that they're not a menace. Certainly, in numbers or backed up by other demons in tow, Imps can be a nuisance, not least because of how quick and acrobatic they are. Archvile. As the name suggests, these are some of the most vile enemies to ever be featured in a Doom game. Visually, they look grotesque and horrifying. The sounds they make are chilling and shrill, and their capabilities in combat are, to say the least, quite formidable. Not only do they have plenty of health, they also have a great proficiency with fire-based attacks, while their ability to resurrect dead demons also makes them even more of a threat. Pinkie Demon. A classic demon, perhaps the first demon that comes to the minds of many when thinking of Doom. The Pinkie Demon, often simply called the Demon, is everything that an enemy should be. It's aggressive, it knows to keep moving around and not get hit, and it wears an armor that makes attacks to its front pretty much useless. It does have an exposed back, which is its greatest weakness, but this is still a foe that should not be trifled with. Spectre. Spectres are, at first glance, pretty much exactly like Pinkie Demons. But here's the catch. That first glance is pretty hard to catch. That's because Spectres are partially invisible, and spotting them in the battlefield before they sneak up on you to land their attacks is no easy task. That and all the attributes and attacks that a regular Pinkie Demon usually come with is a lethal combination indeed. Summoner. Enemies that can summon other enemies have long been the bane of gaming audiences, regardless of era, genre, or franchise, and that's true for Doom as well. Fights with the aptly named summoners are as frustrating as they are scary. Their summoning abilities make them priority targets in any battle, but they're smart enough to keep their distance from the player. The moment you try and get close, they'll simply zip away. Hellguard. We've only fought Hellguards once in the entire Doom series, in Doom 2016, but that one encounter was memorable enough to permanently imprint itself in our memories. Hellguards are biomechanical thingamajigs controlled by parasites from within their exoskeletons, and they can absolutely wallop you if you're not careful. One of them comes with a mace and a staff and a bubble shield that protects it from most attacks, while the two that follow it pose an even bigger threat, in spite of not having any shields, purely because of strength and numbers. With their combination of high health, high defense, and an arsenal full of hard-hitting attacks, taking down these monstrosities is no cakewalk. Hellraiser. Hellraisers aren't the most durable or threatening foes you'll come across in a Doom game, and compared to some of the other demons we've mentioned in this feature, fights against them are relatively easy. But viewed in isolation, they're quite formidable enemies. Though they are, on paper, a lot like imps, with more health and with their beam attacks, they can be a handful in hectic combat situations. Hell Knight. Hell Knights can be an absolute nightmare, and not just because they look like that. They have vast pools of health and a range of dangerous attacks, and can easily overpower you if you slip up during firefights. They do have a weakness to heavier weapons, or even chain guns and shotguns, and are essentially dwarfed by their much more capable cousins, the Barons of Hell, but underestimating Hell Knights is still a bad idea. Oh, and speaking of Barons of Hell, Baron of Hell. A true demon in every sense of the word, from their appearance with the horns and hooves and everything, to how startlingly and overpoweringly deadly they can be during firefights. Fight them up close and they'll swipe at you with their claws and stomp on you with their hooves. Try taking them on from a distance and their devastating projectile attacks will make short work of you. Add to that large amounts of health and you have one of the most terrifying demons this series has ever produced. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from GamingBolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.